Hey, what's going on guys? Salty here. Today we're going to have a bit of a different video. We're going to do a little bit of a discussion video. I've heard a lot of debate about either buffing attack or nerfing defense, and I feel like I would like to give my little 2 cents on it, or 6 cents, whatever you want to call it, just to share my opinions and see if any of this stuff is reasonable even, because some of the buffs and nerfs that I've thought up are a little bit cheesy, but at the same time, they're I feel like necessary buffs. I'm going to talk about nerfing defenders and also buffing attackers, but I'm primarily going to focus on buffing attackers. So the first operator I'm going to talk about is Thatcher. Thatcher you can buff two different ways, maybe three. Thatcher you can go this way. You can make it so that his gadget has a smaller radius, but they increase the stuff that it destroys. It destroys everything that's not a camera, such as yokai drones, Maestro's evil eyes, or just normal cameras or Valkyrie cameras. Or you can make it so that his radius is increased, and it disables stuff temporarily for maybe about 10 seconds, and it gives it a slight audio cue, so that he can, easily go in, destroy the stuff that he needs to destroy, and then push the objective, or even just push the objective past all that stuff quickly, like almost like a pseudo rush character or a rush support character. It wouldn't be a bad idea, but I mean, I feel like Thatcher's someone you got to be careful how you buff or nerf because he is already quite the force to be reckoned with his win delta being at around just perfectly in the middle, and his pick rate already being at 50%. The next operator I'm going to talk about is Twitch. Twitch is somebody you got to be really careful with how you buff her nerf, because if you buff her too much, she's going to become this crazy broken character again. And if you nerf her too hard, she's going to be literally unplayable. Right now, she's sitting at a below average win rate and pick rate, so I feel like she could be buffed just the slightest bit in her gadget destruction, not in any annoying way. She just needs to make it so maybe that her shocks come back just the slightest bit faster, but I mean, other than that, she just needs to be able to destroy gadgets a little bit better. This next hacker I'm going to be talking about is going to be Fuse. Fuse is a character I feel like it is his time to shine. I want him to be absolutely busted. Not actually, but I feel like some of these changes would make him actually like very much more encouraged to play and everything. It would help him get rid of gadgets better. But basically, we're going to make him a 2-speed, 2 armor. I feel like that's justified with how his gadget works. I feel like he should not be slow with a gadget that he needs to place early on in the round. He needs to get inside the building quickly. So I feel like making him a 2-speed, 2 armor is only fair. Maybe make him a little bit less thick. But the next change I'm going to say is changing his cluster charges a little bit. The deploy time is quite fast now, which I do like that they changed. Maybe make it a little bit faster if you really want to. But also make it so that his cluster charges shoot out a little bit faster and have a slightly bigger radius so that they can destroy more gadgets, but they only do maybe 50 or 60 damage or so. I feel like this is a fair way to buff Fuse. I feel like it would make him more about like utility destruction and less about fragging capability. I mean, he already has the AK, which is really good for fragging. He'd be a 2-speed, 2 armor. He'd be a little bit quieter. He'd be a little bit faster for just getting those kills that he needs. He can just play above the objective, and it would just be really, really helpful for him. Another thing you could also do is that you could, if you really wanted to, give him some sort of secondary shotgun, if you really wanted to, because that would be helpful because he could play vertically, kind of like Buck, more or less in a sense, but he'd be a little bit better than Buck, I think. I think he'd be a little bit too broken if you did that, but that is how I would change Fuse. So with IQ, I feel like you got to be very careful with how you change her. I feel like she should get her frags back. I think that's something that was really helpful on her. I mean, it did help her fragging capability, and that is something that she still does have, but it also does help get rid of certain gadgets as well. Another thing that they could also do is that with the metal beams and stuff, they could have a little outline that's not as bright as like an actual gadget, but like a slight faded outline where the metal bars are, so that she's not just shooting at metal bars the entire time, so she knows where they are when she has her gadget activated. Other than that, I don't think IQ needs any other changes. I feel like IQ's in a pretty solid spot right now. So my personal request with Lion is that they give him breaching charges. I feel like that would make him just a little bit nicer to play. I don't know. That's just a personal request for me and my friend Bo. So Nock is a character I personally love playing. I play a lot of Nock, and I feel like with these buffs I'm going to bring up, she might be a little bit too overpowered, but One thing I would buff is that the cartridges in her front pouch are the same cartridges as the one in her FMG9. It would make more sense. It just looks absolutely goofy that she has fucking big ass mags and she has a tiny FMG9. But anyways, the actual buffs I would like to see her have is when she is in her hell presence, she is unaffected by gadgets. She could still step on Legion mines, but she would be able to walk past proximity alarms. She'd be able to walk past that new gadget. I forgot the character's name, but she would be able to walk through that. She would be unaffected if she was shot by an Echo Baby. Actually, no, that's a little bit too broken. But basically, she would be unaffected by more gadgets so that she could sneak past them and maybe even destroy them so that she can easily, like, it would just help with her utility destruction. I know most people, if they were to see a buff on Nock, they would want to see her weapon changed. But I don't think she really needs that. I think the FMG9, if you could hit your headshots, is a fairly good weapon. It's an accurate laser beam. So I don't think she really needs that. She also has the Deagle as a secondary, or the 5.7, which are two very fun pistols to use. But other than that, I think that's the only way I would buff Nock. I don't know. You might have to nerf her just a little bit, maybe by making it last a little bit, like reduce the time it lasts. But other than that, I feel like that would be a good buff to Nock. It would help with her utility destruction, or maybe it would just help her to sneak on the objective and get some quick frags before she possibly gets taken out. But yeah, that's how I buff the attackers. So actually, I am not done with the attackers. I'm going to talk about Kali as well. I feel like with her, you need to change her explosive lance to be maybe like a little pistol that she could pull out really quick and shoot into the wall, so that she can also have fragging potential along with her utility destruction. It would be really helpful because her sniper would be used for long-range engagements, and she has Clash's pistol as well now, or SMG, so that she can do close-range engagements, and she will have no problem with that. I feel like this would be an interesting change to Kali, and maybe hopefully put her more into the meta, because she's the second worst character on attack, which really, yeah, that's not a good look for her. I feel like she's got so much potential to be very good. And the last attacker I'm going to talk about is Iana. I feel like with Iana, with the new ping system that's coming out, the new advanced ping system, make it so that her replicator, her Gemini replicator, can ping stuff on walls, like gadgets and everything like that, so that it'll give a little bit more information to people who are more suited to destroying utility. That way it makes her drone a lot more useful for people who aren't using comms. I know this isn't the best buff for like pro league play and stuff like that because they're always using comms and everything, but I feel like this would be just a general quality of life buff that would be really, really good for Iana. They could also, if they really wanted to, make pinging on drones a thing as well with the advanced ping system. I know they're doing that, so it'll just be overall helpful at least. So yeah, that's attackers. I'm going to move on to nerfing defenders. I'm not going to spend nearly as much time on that though. I would more personally like to see attackers being buffed. So I know I said I was going to talk about nerfing defenders, but I actually did want to talk about one defender I would love to see buffed, which is Mute. Please let him put his mute jammers on a reinforced wall. That's all I want. I want him to be just a little bit more versatile like Bandit is or Kaid. Just so he's a little bit more fun and interesting to say the least. That's my only thing with mute. That's just a little bit of a pet peeve. So Kapkan I know isn't the most relevant in the competitive or highest tiers of meta. I mean it is in Diamond and Platinum. He's very high on the win rate, but he's not the most picked. But in Pro League I know he's not the most relevant operator. So I feel like he doesn't need the biggest nerfs. I feel like one thing they could do is remove one of his EDDs. And that's pretty much it, really. I mean, maybe give it like a little bit of a light indicator, but I feel like in Pro League and stuff like that in the higher ranks, people are going to be watching for them if they already know that they have a Kapkan. So, yeah, that's pretty much the only way I'd change Kapkan. I feel like he's in a decent spot right now because he's very... I mean, he flies around up and down on the wind delta all the time. So, I mean, we'll have to see what happens with Kapkan. Kapkan, you got to be very careful on how you buff and nerf him. So, some nerfs I've seen talking about Echo would be to remove one of his yokai drones. I feel like that's a little bit too big of a nerf. I feel like two yokai drones is okay, but the amount of shots you have out of those yokai drones to stun people, deny plants, is a little bit high. I know they're nerfing it, making it so that they're easier to see, which is a step in the right direction, I think. But I feel like either make the recharge radius on between shots a little bit higher, or make it so that he maybe has less shots overall. because I feel like Echo's drones are just so potent all the time. You can't really play without, in at least lower ranks, you can't play without banning Echo because someone's just gonna sit there like a cheese dick spamming Echo shots the entire round. There's not much you can do about it either. It's very hard to see his drones at the moment, but they're obviously changing that. So yeah, just overall, I don't think they should remove a drone from Echo. I don't think that's the right move with yokai drones. I feel like just nerf the yokai drone on its own, not remove a yokai drone completely. And also remove his deployable shield. That'd be a great change for him. I think they're already doing that in the TTS. So I mean, yeah, it's a step in the right direction, like I said. So I'm gonna assume most people are gonna want me to talk about Mira. I'm gonna say with Mira, really the only logical thing I could think of is remove one black mirror and maybe give her a little bit of a speed buff. And other than that, I mean, I really think she's in a fairly decent spot. I mean, her win delta and her pick delta are slightly above average, but that's it. It's just slightly. So I feel like instead of making her a must ban on certain maps and making her this niche pick, they should really give her one Mira so that she's got more, not more diverse, but she's less banned so that you can actually utilize her gadget more because she's one of the most banned operators overall. But yeah, that's pretty much the only logical things I can think of for Mira. Like I said, this is a discussion video, so leave your opinions down below in the comments and stuff. I'd like to talk about it. It'd be great. I'll read all the comments and everything I do on all my videos. So yeah. So pretty much with Legion is that I think he needs less goo mines. Maybe one or two less goo mines, but overall he needs less goo mines. Whether it be overall like he gets they maybe recharge slower, or he just straight up gets maybe 5 total and he gets them slightly sooner. He punishes people for being slow to attack, but also when you have other characters who are slowing them down, you can't. He's just gonna get all 7 of his Legion mines out, and then you're just gonna be annoyed by that the entire round. I feel like another way you can also go about balancing Legion is that making his Legion mines slightly more visible, because they are quite hard to see. But I mean, they're visible. You can see them there, that little blurry spot on the floor. But I feel like you should make them just slightly more visible, or maybe just a little bit bigger, but not make the hitbox bigger, because the hitbox already seems a lot bigger than the gadget actually is. So yeah, that's pretty much how I would change Legion. I mean, there's not really any other logical way to change Legion. That's just how it goes. So there's a couple different ways you can go about changing Ela. I feel like she is a character where if you nerf her, you have to buff her a little bit. If you nerf one aspect of her, you have to buff the other aspect of her, if you get what I'm saying. So I feel like if they do nerf Ela a little bit too much, they would have to buff her weapon recoil just a little bit again. Not too much, because then it just becomes a slaying machine, but just the right amount for that to be just a nice little spicy little weapon. So pretty much what I would do is I would make it so when Ela or Zofia concuss each other, it has almost no effect. Maybe just the slightest effect, and that's it. Because I feel like they add a little bit more dynamic, so it'd be a little bit more interesting. You could fake out Ella's or Zofia's even on attack with each other. It'd just be a nice little game of fucking peekaboo just for fun. But also make it so that either she has one less gadget or the stun effect doesn't last as long, because it makes Ella's gadget so potent, and you can't see because you could hide it behind doors and everything. It's just a tricky gadget to get around, and if you get hit by one, you're pretty much guaranteed dead, which is not fun, really. It's not. So yeah, either nerf the amount of concussion time or take away one and nerf or buff her weapon slightly, and I think Ella will be in a good spot because right now her win delta percent is almost at 2%, which is nuts. So yeah, that's how I would change Ella. So with Maestro, I feel like the best way to go about changing Maestro is that you either give him one evil eye, which I think is a really big nerf, or you limit the amount of shots that he has, or even make it so it heats up a lot faster. Because Maestro right now is in a very obnoxious position. He can just kind of sit around like a little turtle on the objective, hiding there, and just laser you with his little little plasma bolts, and it's not a fun experience. He can take out like gadgets and stuff like that as well. He makes it overall a tough experience, especially with his bulletproof Evil Eye being able to move around. Obviously, he has counters like sledge and stuff like that, or even like frag grenades. But you could always just you can even like use Evil Eye as a bait, for example. Like Evil Eye is very versatile for how little like versatility it has in a way. Like you can't really place it in any crazy spots, but when you do place it in certain spots, you can just combo it with like anything, and you can just peek people, and it's just such a good gadget. It's so good for intel. It's good for destroying like even thermite charges sometimes and stuff like that. Even if your evil eye gets destroyed in the process, you still took out an entire thermite charge, and half the time you can just turn away and you can't, and you're destroying the stuff anyways. So yeah, I mean that's really the only logical ways I could see of nerfing Maestro. I mean you could if you really want to like remove the bailiff or something, but I feel like that's not the main problem with Maestro. I feel like his problem is his gadget. It's very potent. It's kind of disgusting, and yeah, that's pretty much it with Maestro. The next character I'm going to talk about is Alibi. I don't feel like Alibi needs a nerf. I feel like they should just buff it so that her prismas are all like her skin. Please do that now, like right now. I beg you, please. I'll literally bend. So, I mean, I know we're talking about removing utility from defense, but I feel like still buffing the attack is the way to go. But I think Wamai needs a buff. I feel like he should be a rival to Jaeger. I feel like they should make it so that he's on par with Jaeger. I would nerf Jaeger more, but it's hard to nerf Jaeger when people are going to keep picking him anyways. At Pro League levels, he's potent. At Diamond levels, he's potent. Platinum, potent. At any rank you play him in, he's potent. Even in casual play, you're almost always going to run into a Jaeger because he's just such a fun character to play. You throw your stuff down, and you leave. So with the magnet systems, I feel like it shouldn't be on a recharge system. I feel like that's terrible if you want him to be a competitor to Jaeger, because Jaeger can just throw his stuff down and walk away from the objective. And if you're going to make Wamai a 2-speed 2 armor and give him an AUG, why not make it so he can throw his stuff down and leave the objective? That way he's a rival to Jaeger. Now this could also turn against him and make it so that people just run Jaeger and Wamai, and you just have a bunch of just utility denial, which would be obnoxious. So if you were to do this, you would have to probably buff, or not buff, nerf Jaeger and Wamai's destruction capability of gadgets a little bit. Maybe give it so that Wamai has 4 charges and Jaeger only has 2 ADSs. Like that's like the worst case scenario, or like the most drastic scenario. But really, I mean, what other options do you have at that point? So with Wamai being so similar to Jaeger, it's really like a balancing system that you have to balance both of these operators the same way. Once you get them on the same level, that's when you can start considering balancing them both at the same time. They have to work together is what I'm saying. You have to buff them together. You can't just buff one or the other once you get them on the same playing field. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Wamai. So, Smoke, I really don't know how you could balance him. At Pro League, he's fantastic. He's pretty much a must pick on a lot of objectives. But if you look at the win deltas for ranked, his win delta's terrible. His pick rate's decent, but his win delta's absolutely atrocious. And I don't know, I love this character, but I really don't know what you could do with Smoke. So I'm going to leave it up to the comment section down below to discuss what you want to do with Smoke, what you think could be changed about Smoke. Obviously, I want you guys to talk about everything I talk about in this video. That'd be fantastic, because he's such a fun operator. He's great, and he's just such a difficult operator to balance. If you buff him too much, he might become overpowered. You don't know that yet, because he's really good in Pro League as it is, because his high skill cap. But if you nerf him, he's just going to be atrocious. Like, he's with the high skill ceiling that he has and the high skill cap that he has, he's an interesting character. He's so fun to play as well. He's got that high skill cap and everything. I don't know. You just this one's I'm going to leave to the comments. That's going to be it for this video. I would love to see you guys discuss this in the comments section. Share this video around. I want this to be shared around the community to see what other people's thoughts are. This would be a great basis video for people to discuss everything. I feel like it would just be a fun experience to be able to be part of the discussion, even though I am a console player and I don't play the most amount of ranked. I feel like I have a decent insight on how uh, a decent insight on how ranked and everything goes and how competitive play works. I did coach for a while, so I know I just know a lot about the game really. I mean, I don't play it competitively anymore because it's frustrating really. I want this game to be fantastic. I love this game and I want it to be good. But it's at the pace it's going, it's becoming slower and slower and slower and I'm falling asleep. But yeah, comment down below. Like, comment, subscribe. Socials all are all in the description. Yeah. Peace out.